Hello everyone, Nerdgasm here, back with another superhero game review. Today, I'll be looking at Batman the Telltale series, a 5-part episodic point-and-click adventure game developed and published by the now-defunct Telltale Games. Prior to Batman, I hadn't really played many of the other offerings from Telltale, apart from 2010's Back to the Future, out of sheer curiosity and nostalgia mostly. I'm aware that they made games based off Jurassic Park, Bill Willingham's Fables, The Wolf Among Us, Borderlands, Guardians of the Galaxy, and even The Walking Dead, among others, but none of them really interested me, regardless of their critical receptions. Telltale's approach to their games was unique compared to most other game developers. They released their games in episodic format, with each part releasing over the span of several months. Because their games were limited in terms of gameplay, very simplistic in that regard, Telltale would put a heavier emphasis on the stories and writing itself, which gave their games a more cinematic feel. Choices made by the player would also help shape the narratives, making each game, each playthrough, feel different and personalized. I have nothing against Telltale or the way in which they make their games. I can see why a lot of people enjoy them, and I do believe it was a shame this company went out of business when it did. In terms of Batman, the Telltale series, I believe it's one of the best games ever made based off the character, something I am going to further elucidate as I go here. That said, these kinds of games, these point-and-click adventures, are not something I go out of my way to play. Their gameplay is too watered down for my liking. I need something with a bit more meat on its bones to be truly satisfied. This approach does work with a character like Batman, I must admit, and Telltale crafted one hell of a story here. It's very well written, but it can't hold a candle to the kind of experience a game like Batman Arkham Knight provides. I hate to say it. Again, I'm not trying to cut up Batman the Telltale series, or Telltale in general, but this genre of gaming, this kind of episodic narrative and approach to the whole thing, it's just not for me. It's not the ideal way I play and enjoy my games, and that will differ from person to person. We all have different tastes. The fact that this game was using the Batman license is what intrigued me most about it, obviously. It's why I bought it in the first place when it came out. But I think a character like Batman suits this kind of point-and-click, puzzle-solving gameplay. He is a detective after all. Yeah, it's not as intricate as, say, Arkham Knight was at times, with its puzzle-solving, but it still made me feel like a detective, and with Batman, I think that's vital for any game to do, especially ones in this day and age, with the technology on hand. You get fully absorbed in the crime scenes you explore, and they open the game up a bit and give you an environment to walk around in. You get to use a variety of gadgets, link together a sequence of events. It can be pretty engaging, all things considered. Now, there is more to this game than just pointing and clicking. Combat sequences are in the form of quick-time events, which can be annoying sometimes in games, but here it's acceptable and works. It helps that the fights themselves are well executed, hard-hitting, shot like a movie. They have an epic feel to them. It's great. Some stealth sequences even allow you to scan the area with your bat drone and choose how you want to take out each guy from a few options, which is pretty cool. Despite this being a Telltale game, not the most complex or anything in terms of gameplay, the developers do as much as they can with what they have at their disposal, and overall, it's pretty damn impressive. I give them props. The bulk of this game is in the form of dialogue scenes, though, that have you choose responses from a select pool when prompted. Each one you make, or at least some of the ones you make, the ones vital to the narrative, affect the story and change what happens as you go. The game has a set narrative, a specific arc it's going to go in regardless of your decisions, but a few elements of it can change, which adds some variety to everything. It also gives it replayability because you can experiment with different responses. In one playthrough you might want to be passive and merciful, and in others, a complete douchebag and brutal as fuck when it comes to your crime fighting. The choice is yours. Alright, so with all the gameplay related stuff out of the way, I want to discuss the story. If you haven't played this game before and intend to someday, you might want to stop this video now. I'm not going to go through every single detail of the plot, only what I feel is necessary, but it's enough to ruin the experience for someone who has never played this game before, so you've been warned. Batman: The Telltale series takes place in the mid to late 2010s, and a few years into Batman's crime-fighting career. It's set within its own universe, and isn't tied to any of the comics, movies, television shows, or other video games. Because of this, Telltale had the freedom to do their own thing with it, go in a new and interesting direction we had never seen before with these characters, provide a fresh new take on everything. In Batman: The Telltale series, Gotham is under attack by a terrorist organization known as the Children of Arkham, who are led by a mysterious masked figure called Lady Arkham. Their goal is to cleanse Gotham of its corruption through murder and mayhem, by plunging the city and its people into chaos, with the help of a powerful psychoactive drug, which, when injected, causes its user to lose control of their mental functions. Bruce Wayne learns that his parents, Thomas and Martha Wayne, had connections with the mob, specifically the Falcone family, as well as Mayor Hamilton Hill, and this trinity used their wealth and influence to control the city. Anyone who asked too many questions and learned of this deep-rooted corruption was sent away to Arkham Asylum to rot. These allegations targeted at the Wayne family go public, which forces Bruce to step down as the CEO of Wayne Enterprises. Bruce's childhood friend, Oswald Cobblepot, now known as the Criminal Penguin and high-ranking member of the Children of Arkham, is there to swoop down and take over Bruce's company, much to his disdain. I really like the idea of making Thomas and Martha Wayne criminals in this game. When Bruce finds out, he goes through all the motions: denial, anger, acceptance. Exploring the repercussions of such a major life-altering realization like this one is one of the most fascinating parts of Batman: The Telltale series. Here's a guy who gave his entire life to his cause, sacrificed everything, and his parents weren't even the people he thought they were. They weren't as innocent as he originally believed. It puts a spoke in his wheel, douses that fire he had burning deep inside of him all these years. Bruce is still Batman. He's still going to be Batman because he's too far gone at this point. Being Batman is an addiction in many ways, but that original motivation is gone, or at least shaken, muffled. The main antagonist of the game, Lady Arkham, plays into all of these ideas and themes regarding Bruce Wayne's parents, and the fact that his past is coming back to haunt him. Many times, people will claim that Batman himself creates his villains, that they are somehow a reaction to his very existence. But in Batman: The Telltale series, at least in terms of Lady Arkham, her creation was out of his control. If anything, she was the result of Thomas and Martha Wayne, a villain born from their actions, not Bruce's. And again, it's the past coming back to haunt him. This is the entire point behind this story. Not only was making Bruce Wayne's parents criminals a bold move on the part of Telltale, but the big reveal as to who Lady Arkham was a shocker as well. I'm glad they chose to do things we had never seen before, made interesting twists on classic characters. It subverted our expectations, surprised us in every way imaginable. Lady Arkham is revealed to be investigative reporter Vicky Vale, who in actuality was a member of the Arkham family at birth, Victoria Arkham. Her parents ran the asylum and were killed by Thomas Wayne in order to cover up his misdeeds. She was then adopted by the Vales, who abused and tortured her as a child, locking her away in a secret hole in their basement. It's here where she created the Lady Arkham persona, and now Vicky wants revenge against Carmine Falcone, Mayor Hill, and Bruce Wayne, the three men she holds responsible for what had happened to her. I think the Lady Arkham character is quite interesting, and a great villain for this game. I think it's good that Telltale came up with their own antagonist for this narrative, which helps it stand out from a lot of other Batman stories. It provides it with its own unique identity. The story behind Vicky Vale is an unsettling one. She's a victim. a child who was placed in a terrible situation, a terrifying situation, and was powerless to do anything about it. Her motivations in this game are quite strong, layered, and given the circumstances she was faced with, believable. I also think the design of Lady Arkham is pretty cool. The creepy mask, weaponized staff, I like it. The Penguin is made skinny in this game, similarly to his depiction in the Gotham TV show. He also wears a mask, a white and black one with a beak. Honestly, I'm not really a huge fan of his look in this game. It's not terrible by any means, just not very noteworthy either. Outside the main conflict involving the children of Arkham, the other big element of this story centers around Harvey Dent and his transformation into Two-Face. This depiction of the character, voiced by Travis Willingham, is easily the best we have in video games up until now. I wish I could say it was the one from the Arkham series, I really do, but if you've seen my reviews of those games, you would know why that one falls a little flat, at least in my opinion. Anyways, in Batman the Telltale series, Harvey Dent is running for mayor of Gotham. His campaign is being funded by his close friend Bruce Wayne, and the two hope that their partnership can put an end to the corruption in the city. At the mayoral debate before the election, it is attacked and taken over by the Penguin and Blockbuster, who, oh yeah, is another member of the Children of Arkham. Harvey, along with Mayor Hill, are injected with the psychoactive drug. Hill is killed by the Penguin shortly afterwards, and Harvey is brutally beaten by him. The Penguin would then proceed to lift up a stage light and smash it into Harvey's face, permanently disfiguring the left side of him. Now, I had mentioned that this game allows you to make choices throughout that have an impact on the story moving forward, and this moment where Penguin goes to attack Harvey is one of the biggest. You have the option to save Harvey from getting disfigured, or save Catwoman, who is being cornered by Children of Arkham soldiers. When I first played this game, I saved Harvey, and every other time since that, I have let him get attacked. Regardless of which decision you make, all it changes is his physical appearance. That's about it. He still acts the same way moving forward, has similar dialogue. The only difference is whether or not his face is scarred. And that's the thing with Batman the Telltale series. It claims that every decision you make is going to have lasting consequences to the story, but they really don't. A lot of it is insignificant. Maybe some of the dialogue might be a little different, or the setting in which a scene takes place in, even you confronting certain characters as either Batman or Bruce Wayne, but none of it is really major in the grand scheme of things. There is an illusion of choice within this game. Even though it may seem that what you do carries weight to it, very little of it does. The sequel game, The Enemy Within, improved upon this, essentially having two different final episodes, depending on which decisions you make throughout the story. But that's a review for another time. Anywho, let's get back to Two-Face. Regardless of whether or not he gets disfigured, the traumatic events at the debate, combined with the remnants of the psychoactive drug in his system, result in Harvey developing a split personality. Harvey wins the election and becomes the mayor of Gotham, but a love triangle between Harvey, Selina, and Bruce sends him over the edge after he catches Bruce in Selina's apartment. After Bruce attacks Oswald Cobblepot following his takeover of Wayne Enterprises, Harvey has him committed at Arkham Asylum. Bruce is only able to escape with the help of John Doe, this universe's take on the Joker. I'm not going to talk about him in this video because his role in this game is rather small. I'll save that discussion for a future review of the sequel game, The Enemy Within. I think the arc with Harvey Dent in this game is great, an interesting sequence of events, a domino effect, that leads to his transformation into Two-Face. Like any good Two-Face story, you feel sympathy for Harvey, and watching him become the villain over the course of these episodes is a hard pill to swallow. I think the ideas Telltale brought to the table, like the mask he wears at first to cover up his scarring, similar to the one Eric wears in the Phantom of the Opera, were unique changes that made this version of the character stand out from others. I also really enjoyed the whole idea of him declaring martial law in Gotham and having his own privatized army of enforcers. That was really cool. Despite not being a huge fan of these kinds of games, I do really enjoy Batman the Telltale series. It's one of my favorite Batman games. Apart from the nature of the game itself being point and click, made up of mostly dialogue sequences, and filled to the brim with quick-time events, I don't have that much negative to say about it. I think its visuals are impressive, the story is compelling, and its M rating allows it to do quite a bit in terms of its investigative sequences, which may have been my favorite parts of the game, in all honesty. I love getting to be a detective. It's the heart of the Batman character. Unfortunately, I have never been able to get through all 5 episodes from start to finish without having to deal with severe frame rate issues at times or having the game crash completely. Countless glitches always tend to occur as well, like the missing smoke effects with Gordon cigarettes, or the hair and partial skulls of some characters, which is creepy. I've had Lady Arkham T-pose when you're figuring out how she kidnapped Alfred, Renee Montoya completely disappear from cutscenes, and even Joe Chill became a set of floating eyes and teeth one time I played, though sadly, I don't have footage of it. Apparently, Telltale had some pretty intense crunch times in order to meet the strict release dates of their games, which led to poor team morale behind the scenes. The episodic format of everything as well made their game development really expensive, which is why they relied on big-name licensing to make their money back, and then some. It's sad that this company went out of business because they could have made many more great games, but at the same time, I can see why it happened. They were bleeding themselves dry. This has been Nerdgasm. I hope you enjoyed my review of Batman the Telltale series. Like I said, it's one of my favorite Batman games, despite not being a huge fan of these kinds of episodic stories. I will be reviewing The Enemy Within at some point in the future, but I can't guarantee it will be next. Game reviews take me a long time to produce, which is why the topics of them are based entirely on the results of Patreon polls. They happen every month on patreon.com/channelnerdgasm, so if you'd like to be a part of them and cast your vote, all you have to do is become a patron and support my content financially, allowing me to make these larger projects a reality. Thanks guys, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.